Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 15 of our podcast, The Pulse of High Performance. I am Seth Davies with Competitive Solutions. I'm joined by my business partner, Paul Campbell, and we have got a very special guest today, Ken Burton Jr., who is the tax collector of Manatee County. And the reason we wanted to have Ken as a guest is one, he's been a client and a practitioner of Competitive Solutions, of process-based leadership, of Visuant for over probably 18, 19 years. And he is very intimate with our technology and with the systems and processes that he utilizes on a daily basis to run his organization. So we've got a lot of questions we're going to ask Ken. It'll be a great conversation, and he's going to share with you what he does from a leadership perspective to help manage less and accomplish more. He's got sites spread out all over Manatee County down in Florida, which is just north of Tampa. So Ken, welcome. And why don't you tell our guests a little bit about the tax collector position of Florida and how you became the tax collector of Manatee County?
Okay. First of all, gentlemen, always great to work with you, and thank you for having me on today. Nobody grows up wanting to be a tax collector. It was not my goal in life. It just kind of fell into it. So what about these Florida tax collectors? Well, the tax collector is a constitutional office. And what that means is in Florida's constitution, in each county, there shall be a tax collector, and they are elected the same time as the President of the United States. So I just went through an election, and I'll be starting a new term next month. But that's about it as far as the Constitution. All of our duties are given to us by the Florida legislature. And right now, in the year 2024, we do work with 4 state agencies on their behalf as their agents. Number one, the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. There are no DMVs in Florida. You visit your tax collector to register your car, to renew, to transfer a title. We do driver's licenses. We do handicap parking permits and 150 or so specialty plates. I can't keep up with all of them. We collect a property tax on behalf of the Florida Department of Revenue that funds local government. We collect a tourist development tax along with Department of Revenue, as well as a little bit of sales tax. For the Florida Fish, Water, and Game Commission, we sell hunting and fishing licenses, not as many as we used to, but we're their eyes and ears at the local level. We do work with the Department of Health as far as birth certificates. They want us to do more with death certificates, which would help us in our daily duties. And recently, as far back as 2016, we do work with the Department of Agriculture with concealed weapon licenses. So what does that mean for customers? We deal with 1,300 people every day that walk into our office. Probably another 3,000 or 4,000 will choose to pay by mail or by internet on a daily basis. We collect $1.3 billion in revenue on behalf of the state agencies and local governments. And the legislature has us set up like a business. Everything we do, we get a fee or a tax. We get a fee on that, and we use that to run our office. Any profit that we generate at the end of the year, we give back to the local taxing authorities. We're the only people see that on a regular basis. It's government, and I call it like the Taylor Swift moments. Nobody cares about the tax collector until a crisis comes along, and then we become Taylor Swift for a few minutes, and then after we've taken care of them, they don't care about us until the next crisis in their life. That's what we do.
So how many employees help you accomplish that? And then how many different offices do you have throughout Manatee County?
Okay, we have about 140 strong. Probably 100 of them are full-time. And we have four locations that are strategically located around the county. We actually consolidated two just a couple of months ago, and we built a brand new office to east of I-75 where we're seeing heavy growth that will be able to help us serve the public for the next 20, 25 years out there.
And so we met, Ken, at Florida Sterling. So the Florida Sterling is for the state of Florida. It's the Malcolm Baldrige Quality Award for the state of Florida. It's a very prestigious award. And we were at a conference speaking on our methodology, and you and your team were at that conference as well in Orlando. What attracted you? Why did we have that initial conversation? What was it that brought you to our company?
Well, we started on our Sterling journey in 2003, and I recall CSI being there pretty much every year and sitting in on their presentations. Anna Versteeg was generally the one there. I remember a lot and how intimidating she was, but I really loved everything she was talking about, and then how everybody would just go to her after the meetings. How do you do this and how do you do that? But one year we were in our Sterling journey, we were learning about these balanced scorecards. Okay, what are they? So we took a whole one of their whole conferences and just focused on the presentations about balanced scorecards. So obviously y'all were one of those, and there were a couple of others, and we had y'all come and present to us, and CSI was hands down the easy winner. That was probably one of the easiest decisions we had ever made, and it was because not only did they have we did not want to be doing spreadsheets, because those are workarounds, in my opinion, to something else. We wanted to have something that we could that was automated, and y'all had that. But the other thing was there was action plans put in about how we could integrate it into our organization with our meetings, so that did they want to look at that every week or every month or every quarter? So we got way more than we had hoped for, and we still rejoice over that time. And it only took about 3 months to get everything in place and running. It was really efficient.
And before I let Paul jump in and ask a question, and then what year did your office win the Florida Sterling Award?
We were a recipient in 2011, which so that meant with Visuant, we put Visuant in. It wasn't Visuant back then, but we had that installed in October of 2007. So we had a couple of years to get that all in place, but we were never really about just winning the award. We wanted to get a little bit better each day, and if you can do that, and constantly look how you're doing as an organization, and you can follow the Malcolm Baldrige what it has to offer, and make that part of your culture. The award should take care of itself. But PBL was life-changing. Visuant was life-changing when we put it in, and it was the turning point where hey, we're going to get this, and we got it on the first try, which is a hard thing to do.
That's awesome, Ken. And I'm sure the journey, like you said, you still celebrate, right? The Sterling Award, even now, even though it was years ago. I'm sure you celebrate it still today on the way.
Yes, because we have a lot of employees that were not around in 2011, and most organizations can honestly say that. So after the award, we still go, and we have a process. We have a process to have people that want to go, and they're selected. They do. They pick the classes they want. They want to come in, and they report back and offer suggestions for performance improvement to it. And then one of the things too is for the next year, they do a presentation for the next group that's eligible to go. And it's always better hearing it from your peers than hearing it from me about how great Sterling is. And yes, even to this day, we still go, and we just announced who's going to be going in June 2025.
That's amazing. So as you think about kind of your journey through all this process, right? The process, establishing the processes in your organization, the metrics you're looking at that you measure,
yes.
Your service organization to Florida, right? That's basically how you provide it. Why are metrics so critical to your organization and you?
Well, I can still remember you guys saying in your presentations, are you winning or are you losing? Right. And if you have the proper metrics in place in front of your staff, when it's their time to meet and talk about what's going on in the organization, that's a good thing. Metrics are what it takes to know where you are, where you can find opportunities for improvements, but mainly it's the pulse of the organization, and having those available allows you to make changes much easier. Working for 5 state agencies, we're constantly having to reinvent ourselves. So having metrics in place so that we can foresee opportunities is always a good thing. And with the tool, the Visuant, if it comes back yellow or red, explain it. And a lot of times an action plan has already been put in place. So to turn it back green. The metrics are very important.
That's great. Are the state agencies actually looking at some of the metrics that you talk about as an organization? Do you actually show those to them?
If they ask, but they're up in Tallahassee, and they really they're more about the policy making and trying to keep us all happy, which is a challenge. But no, when something comes up, because we do work for 5 state agencies, and because our duties are given to us by the legislature, we spend a lot of time with them during session, helping stop bad bills, and to have data to show, hey, Senator, this is probably not a good bill here. Always helps rather than trying to wing something and be emotional about it. They just want short, concise facts, and they know we're down in the trenches with the public every day. So we built up a reputation where we're respected. So we usually get a seat at the table.
Ken, how do you use Visuant for accountability and engagement within the tax collector office? How does that facilitate those conversations and completion of actions?
Well, we use first accountability. Every meeting that we have, we have 13 strategically planned meetings every week, regardless, with Visuant on a weekly basis. So the pass down features, first of all, we use the first 30 minutes for our staff so that they have that opportunity to have a staff meeting before we open the doors. But we have a structured process with our meetings. The senior team meets on Tuesday. They meet with their middle managers and key employees Wednesday and Thursday, and then the front line has their meeting on Friday. So it's very systematic. But we have the pass down feature to pass down pertinent information. So the frontline people are getting information from the senior team as well as their managers as far as how we're communicating. In every one of those meetings, accountability with the action items really ensures that everything gets done. And like you say, we've done this a long time. We take it for granted that 100% of our actions are going to be met. Once in a while, they'll have to go into their action item and say, I thought it was going to take me 2 weeks. And a lot of time it could be out of their control, trying to get information from the state data, so it might take 3 weeks or a month. So they might have to, so the accountability is definitely integral part. And, again, I could take it for granted that all of our actions are completed, but once in a while they'll be read. But they're going to be completed. I graded my senior leaders on action items, because you could run a report and show, but it came down to how many days they were getting them done early. So they were kind of playing around with it, delivering late and promising early with it.
That's always the game that people play, right? You're going to under promise, over deliver. Yep.
You go sit in on a meeting about staff meetings in your organization, and nothing gets done. And by having Visuant as a key part of your culture and organization, it really, and it's the top. It starts at the top, setting the tone. It really makes it easy with accountability. And as we have more and more people moving into key roles, that's all they know. So that's one thing we've noticed in our journey with Visuant. At first there was some with the existing staff, there was pushback, but as over time, it's just part of the culture now. So that they already know it. They know it better than I do.
As you think about COVID, right, a couple of years ago, how did that impact your organization from an accountability and tracking communication? And then obviously everything's open now, but did you see change in behavior and that impacted you, or have to adjust your processes because of that?
COVID was very, very challenging. Like I said, we deal with 1,300 people a day, and everything we do is pertinent to how people survive, life. They got to have a driver's license. They got to have a car to drive back and forth to work. Well, obviously some of that changed, but one thing I did learn through COVID, through our state association, was the federal government has, when they talk about government shutdowns, who's essential and who's not in the federal government. Well, they also have different functions in life, I think that are essential. And it found out that the duties that we perform, there were 3 of them in some federal document that determined that we were essential and that we needed to be open. So when all this happened, we shut down for a week or 2, and we found all this stuff out. That's how we sold it to the staff, how we were going to have to stay open. Did we have to change the way we were doing things? Yes, absolutely. We became appointment only, which we still are today. But it was funny. None of my frontline people really got sick. It was a real thing. I knew people that died from it, but the people in our organization, the ones that worked behind the scenes, were the ones that got COVID. It wasn't the people dealing directly with the public. And it's not just you coming in to get your driver's license renewed. We get in 10,000 cars a year. Not all of them are Lamborghinis. Some of them are, not all of them. Most of them overwhelmingly are not. And with the concealed weapon licenses, we have to do the fingerprints on those. So we made it through, and communication is, questions, concerns. That's where the pass up feature in the tool, things that would come back to the senior team the following Tuesday. There was their opportunity to communicate back, but their senior team leaders were well on top of it, and having that communication downstream to assure them we did everything we can to make them feel safe. And when they told us to wear masks, we wore the mask when it was by an ordinance. But then afterwards, if they wanted to wear a mask, just like today, we have people wearing masks today, and most people don't. But we've never deviated where you had to wear this or that. But it was a challenge. It was a challenge.
I think it's a challenge for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. But it's interesting, like you said, is that you changed the process, right, with appointments, and that carried forward even to today. So it's like behavior changes too, right, of some things.
Yes, and not everybody's happy with it, but we were doing 800 appointments a day prior to the COVID, just because one of the things we measure is our wait times. Wait times is the number one thing people don't want to wait. When you think of DMV, you think of horrible wait times, horrible people, and horrible buildings that you had to go in. And we have short wait times. They want friendly people. We have a 4.6 Google rating, and they want them to know their stuff. So they get 130 hours of training constantly every year, because we're continuing. Things don't sit still in the tax collector's office.
That's great.
What, Ken, the Visuant is a software, but there's thoughtware behind Visuant, which is process-based leadership. How has having non-negotiable processes in place driven consistency across your offices? You got 5 different offices. So how have the processes driven that consistency, that if I go over to Lakewood Ranch, or if I go to the main office, I'm going to see the same way of work?
Yes, and that is a almost a non-negotiable. I never really thought about it, but when we open our doors every day, we have to all be on the same page. We have to be like this, and that's easier said than done. So non-negotiables help set that up. The pass downs through Visuant have that. The non-negotiables that we use are established with each one of our 13 teams in the organization. So, but mine is the senior team, trickle down through the organization. So anytime we have a change in leadership on a team, that's one of the things that they have to go through and determine what their non-negotiables are. A lot of times they'll be the same, but we review my senior team and I, we review ours annually. We go through, those were established way back in 2007. I'll never forget it. And what do I expect of my team leaders, my team members? What do they expect of me, and how do we resolve conflict? Still fresh, and we really haven't deviated all that much from them, but that really helps set, at least with me and my senior team, which I've learned over the years in any organization, that's where silos start. You got to have, when your senior team's like this, that's when great things are happening, and that's what your staff wants to see, where everybody at the top's working together, because it makes their job working together, and then when we open the doors, we're all on the same page.
So part of that, Ken, and I know you go to Tallahassee quite a bit, but that Tuesday senior leadership team meeting, that meeting still happens regardless if you are there or not, correct?
Absolutely. This month I'm doing decision logs. So that was one thing that was set up, and it's a great leadership tool developing employees. Is each one of the meetings, we have somebody that's the facilitator, and it's rotated every month. We have somebody keeping action items, somebody keeping decision logs. The easy job being the timekeeper for those chasing rabbits. Early on, that's probably the toughest job, but then when you've been doing it for as long as we have, that's like a free get out of jail free card. I think I covered them all, but we rotate them every month, and we'll have rep-ins come in. If I'm not there or one of the senior team, they have to send somebody. They're expected to report on their director's behalf, and they do. We even offer them if they want to run the meeting, because they realize they're using the same agenda that in their meetings that we're using as the senior team. And again, having that continuity. I've actually had people rep in. Yeah, I can do this. Just regular employees. Most of the time not, but they can come in and run a meeting because they've done the same thing, even if it's that they're down serving the public every day. Much different. The same meeting topics are completely different, but they can facilitate the meeting. And once or on occasion, somebody will say, "Yeah, I can do that." And that again, with continuity and non-negotiables, having that consistency in your organization, it really makes life easy for your top staff.
I mean, that's great, Ken. I mean, like you said, it's a great coaching and development opportunity. As you think about, Visualon, it's almost like a single source of truth, right? All the data is in one place. All the locations operate the same way, right? Maybe slightly different metrics, possibly, but most are consistent. There's alignment. Do you find it's a lot easier because all the data is one place where you can compare locations, you can look at lessons learned in one location versus another to see if one's doing better or there's opportunity somewhere else that you could deploy to another location? Do you find that within your organization?
Yes. Having everything in the same place streamlines meetings. First of all, we just our senior team, we had our weekly meeting where we just discuss what's going on from week to week. But every third Tuesday, we have our monthly meeting where we look at our metrics and look for trends and everything. Having that data, and again, having that data, we can just hop from one meeting over to the next and start that one and run through. Just this past Tuesday, we were done in less than an hour, and that included all the pass downs, decisions, everything. Most of the time, our meetings are less than 45 minutes. Now, we will not meet here between Christmas and New Year's. It's our Black Friday week with everything, deadlines happening, so we're all hands on deck. So coming back in January when we have that meeting, that one will probably be, especially like, what did we just see? How did everything go? It's a great time of year to check all of. I was just sharing that with one of our receptionists. I said Black Friday week's coming, and it really, that's our test on all of our processes and how they're working, because it really gets pushed to the limit at the end of the year, right after Christmas. It's a crazy time, but that meeting afterwards, having everything in one place, Paul, that meeting will go an hour and a half, because we'll be talking about how did we do? Did we win? So having everything in the one spot where, the biggest decision that we have to make in our monthly meeting is, do we going to do dashboards this month? Or are we going to look at the metrics? And we joke with our financial services guy, because he's evergreen. He's always green with his stuff. And where down on the front line there might be some yellow and red, once in a while a red, just because of the fluctuations but that's where we find out our opportunities. Yes, so Paul, it's having everything in that one spot. We can pick up on things much quicker than my colleagues around the state on things that are happening on a statewide and national issue.
That's great. I guess being a end of year with a lot of pressure, then with the governor making extra days off for you, probably adds a little challenge.
How are y'all supposed to know that?
Come on.
He makes news. Now,
that was news.
Yeah, DeSanta.
Yeah.
They had a name for him, and yeah, I saw that. We don't follow the same holidays as the state, but they send us that information because obviously not everything's going to be manned. The good thing is they're doing it before Christmas, having the 3 days off, and the state's struggling to find people, and so he's doing everything to throw them a bone. They work hard. These are not glamorous jobs at times, and but they're critical. But so I understand what he's doing, but we just take our normal holidays off, and that's the 1 week out of the year, and it's hard because I have a lot of young families, but it's all hands on deck, and that's it's like retail. You know, the one question they ask you in retail: can you work Black Friday? And if you answer that wrong, you don't get hired. That's kind of like we need all hands on deck. We'll feed them pizza on New Year's. Usually on New Year's Eve, we may cater some pizza in to celebrate just getting through the week, and so that mission accomplished. We made it through. It's crazy.
Ken, we got a question I want to pose to you from one of our guests, but before I do that, I want to just make a comment about you talked about meetings, and very rarely in my career have I met people that get excited about going to a meeting, but I know many people on your staff who will say that they look forward to that Tuesday meeting and the Wednesday meeting and the Friday meeting, because that for them is their touch point to understand what's going on within the office, what they need to be aware of. That's where they get that key information, and they know it's going to be a value add. It's not going to be in addition to their job. It's going to be a value add to help them do their job. And I just want to commend you and your team for having a system and a process when it comes to meetings, because most organizations, meetings are broken. They're not fun. People don't like them. And it's one of those where I've got all this work to do, and then I got these meetings to attend as well. So kudos.
Yes. Thank you, Seth. The system, the everything that y'all have taught us, you just have to make it a non-negotiable and follow it. But it's also their time to speak up if they have a concern about something. And we on occasion too rep into some of those meetings, kind of do like a little audit, just to ensure that they're doing everything they need to do, and they are. But it's just fun to sit in and talk to them, and when something comes through the pass down, you can add to it because we've already talked about it, and their senior team leader has talked to the manager about it, so they're explaining it, but there's some value added things you can do there as well.
So Ken, we got a question from Preston, and Preston is a Visuant user, and his company has not transitioned over to 5.0 yet. That will happen in January, but his question is, what is one or two of the new features that you really like of Visuant 5.0?
Paul, you're going to have to help me because we have not switched over either. But however, we were granted the opportunity to be a beta site, which we have been on a number of occasions. This 5.0 is a complete overhaul, right, Paul? And so when we were beta testing it for a little while, okay, where is that? Okay, and we had a couple of meetings with Paul, and his crew, and those are critical because they know the answers and can easily explain and help you navigate it because they know it like the back of their hand. And again, going to the why part, why it was done this way, and the feedback that it took to get to that point. I know we're on the list. We kind of moved to the back because we are so into using Visuant that instead of being on the front, we've chosen to be on the back to let somebody else work out all the bugs. It's no fun being an IT guy myself in the past career. Anytime you're transferring systems to something better, there's always growing pains, and we live with that with all the software that we use for the state of Florida. We're a beta site for highway safety right now, and you know, the only way it's going to be good is if you participate and use it and make it a part of your culture. So I hope I answered that question.
No, that's good.
Right now.
No, you did, Ken, and we appreciate and we value that partnership, right? Your participation as a beta. It's not just value of testing, it's also the value of how you look at it. Because one of the things that we learn, right, is how you use something is potentially not how we actually look at developing it, right? Your practical use. And that's of tremendous value to us as we go through this process.
Yeah, so how we use it to a manufacturing company would be completely less. And you know, there's 67 counties in Florida with 67 tax collectors, and we're a very diverse state from 3 million plus down in Miami-Dade to Union County with less than 7,000 people. It's not apples and apples, and it's 67 counties using the same statutes and laws and rules, but we do it 67 different ways to how it best fits our community.
That's great.
And so we'll, you know, starting to wrap things up here. You know, my final question for you is, as you look back on your journey with to achieve the Florida Sterling and process-based leadership and Visuant, what would you? Is there anything you would have done differently? Were there any lessons learned when you were starting to move to a non-negotiable process-based approach?
Well, with Visuant and meeting up with you guys at Florida Sterling in the 2000s, I wish we would have met like in 1992 when I was just starting as a 30-year-old elected official, brand new. Sterling was just getting started about that time, and I didn't hear about it until like 8 or 10 years later, and almost didn't even try to even go to that. But we will be having, you know, we had 17 new elected county tax collectors in Florida this year, and Miami-Dade and Broward, the two most populated counties in Florida, are elected a tax collector for the first time in 60 years. It was absorbed into the county. Now they've required in Florida that we're all elected. So we will be having an orientation. We do it every 4 years in our association. We bring all the new tax collectors in. And that same question, you know, they'll ask us, especially the old guys like me that have been around a little while. And I will tell them, number one, go to the Sterling Conference, and anything that you have, anything you come into our organization, you're welcome to it. And we will definitely show them the Visuant. And the one thing about that and anything else we do, they'll think, I want that. But you have to have the people, you have to have the desire, you have to really want to put it in place, you know, otherwise it's just another tool, and it doesn't happen. But you got to invest in it, and you got to get involved with you guys and give feedback, and hey, we want it to work this way so that so it will help their organization run better. But believe me, I've done that every time. A new tax collector, if they're visiting us, we'll show that thing to them, and hey, look at there. My Lakewood Ranch office was all green the past 4 months, and the wait time was 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I want that. And well, okay, I'll set you up here. And but I wish we would have hooked up earlier, because that would have made life a lot easier, and I'd have more hair on my head today, probably.
Well, Ken, thank you very much for joining us. This has been wonderful. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen. Always good to see you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Ken. Thank you again for your time. You've been a long time client, but also a good friend to us, and we really appreciate you spending 40 minutes with us today and just sharing your journey of performance excellence. So again, thank you for everyone that have joined us today to the Pulse of High Performance podcast, sponsored by Visuan. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. There will not be a podcast next week on the 26th, and we look forward to joining you again in January.